To some, they're just a couple of tons of metal, glass and gears. To those same people, they're just an appliance to get them from home to the shops and back again. But to me, there's so much more than that. And there's one that I'd like to meet. Behind the metal curtain is something that I have formed an incredible bond with over the past year, and it's strange to say that because it's to most it's just a car, but to me, as I said, it's so much more than just a car. It's something that's got personality, it's got character, and in the back of my mind, it's something that I can get along with more than I could get along with any person, or more than any person would get along with me. Because at the end of the day, my car's not going to turn around and say, oh, we're not friends anymore. You know, and when I'm in the garage working on the car, I'm free. No worries, no cares, no one to bother me, I'm free. And I can go at my own pace and do what I want with no one in my ear saying you're not doing good enough, or hurry up, or doing it like this. You know, I'm on my own, I'm free, doing what I want and what I like. Now, she's a bit of a damsel in distress. Now, on the outside, you might not think that. You know, there's the odd dent and scratch, and she's due a wash, to say the least. But, you know, it's what's under the bonnet which is the problem at the minute. And the point of this documentary, film, movie, video, audio-visual source, is to document me amending that. And, you know, it's not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be really hard. But it's going to be very fun. And I'd like you to join me on the journey of bringing this car back to life. Let's go.
There was a time when you had me falling to the ground, like a king without a crown. Whoa, why you make it hard? Don't let me down. You might as well be lost, but I'm found. I'm waiting for your love. You just give me. I'll find my way. Just know you're not alone, 'cause I'm your home. I wanna be with you always. Know you're not alone, 'cause I'm your home.
So, let's have a proper look at what's gone on with this little thing. Bonnet. Let the bonnet stay in place. Don't want it falling on my head. So what are we looking at here exactly? Well, this is an F4R 736 2-litre 16-valve engine, which is missing its head. We'll go into that in a minute. Which is then connected to a JC5 130 5-speed manual gearbox, which you can just kind of see there. But yeah, most of the engine's missing for reasons we'll go into in a sec. Now, this obviously isn't how an engine bay is supposed to look like. I mean, I'm no professional, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it's supposed to look like. This, on the other hand, is more like it. You know, you've actually got the cylinder head attached. You can't really see it because it's such a big engine in such a little car, but obviously you've got intake plenum, throttle body, intake cooling box, lower intake manifold, fuel rail with some brand new injectors that look like, actually. That's pretty good. Obviously this car is the donor car, as I've mentioned before. This car cost me £1,000, which was pretty close to my budget, but I still had quite a bit left over for little niggly bits. So let's go through what I've done already in preparation for the project, and I'll run through everything that's been done, what I've done, and yeah, let's just go through it. So first things first, I've pulled the top dash off, pulled the steering wheel off, pulled the clock spring off, gutted the interior pretty much completely. That was quite an easy task. And I just put the seat out of a non-sport Clio, as the sport interior has gone into my 182 replica. So this is why this seat's here. This is just a placeholder for now, as I'm going to be getting a full FIA approved bucket seat, FIA approved racing wheel, flop dash is over there. So yeah, that's what's done to this car so far. Obviously all that was completely free because I've done it myself. Going to go through a few more things that need doing. I need to pull off all this center console gubbins, I need to pull off the lower dash, I need to get the gauge cluster out. It would be helpful if I could get the ignition barrel off, because all these things are things that you don't need for a track car and things I can make a bit of money back on. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the steering wheel from the donor into the restoration car, but in the process I'm going to swap the airbag steering wheel to steering wheel, so then this car has a perfect condition steering wheel and a perfect condition steering wheel and perfect condition airbag. And then the steering wheel out of this is then going to go into Clara the Clio, and then Clara's non-sport steering wheel is going to go in the donor car until I get a proper racing wheel, but we won't talk about that just yet. So let's get to it. First you need to remove the upper and lower steering column trims. So now you've removed lower trim piece, upper trim piece, and your little volume controls for your factory stereo, which mounts to there, which just unplugs relatively easily. Then you have access, easy access to these holes, and there's one on the other side too. Now those are the airbag release holes, so you just need to pry them and the airbag will start to pop out, so I'm going to do that next. So I've pushed those pins over to one side now, so the airbag should, and this is a should, yeah, easy, right. And then what we need to do is unclip the airbag. So I need to get myself a flathead screwdriver, boom. Right, so got my flathead. I don't know if this is the right size flathead for the job, but it will do, there we go. Just lift it up, and that's unclipped it, and then we should just be able to pull it out. So yeah, I did need two hands just to grip it and pull it, but that just pulls up and out once you've done your flathead screwdriver in the back of it to release it. So that's out, and then we've got to do the other side. So then this side is exactly the same, just where have I put my flathead? Stick the flathead at the top. Come on. That's popped up. And then put my hand in. And boom, the airbag is released. So that's one decent condition airbag. So I'm going to keep that safe on the toolbox over there. Now let's get to removing the steering wheel. To remove the steering wheel, it's just that big T50 Torx bit right there. So I'm going to set the camera up and I'm going to try and burst that off. I think you can see, I'm not too sure. Put my big T50 in. There we go. Nice and loose already. Look at that. Like a dream. Thought it was going to be a bit tougher than that, but that wasn't too bad at all. Yeah. So I've done it with the bar, so now I'm just going to go in with a T50 thingamajig. There we go. And then the thing can just be done by hand once you've got it loose enough. There we go. So that's what you need to remove to get the steering wheel off. Put that safely. And then the steering wheel should come off, but obviously it's been there for what, 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's been on there for 15 years. So it's probably going to be a bit seized. So I've formulated a strategy. Just get my big breaker bar, put it behind the wheel, and just absolutely go ham on it. There we go. Steering wheel removed. Yeah, so
Don't do what I just did, because the clock spring is kind of an integral part of the car, and now it's a lot of rubbish, because basically what happens is when you pull that front cover off, which came off accidentally, the wire that's coiled up inside comes out, and that is coiled up by Renault to a specific winding specification. I don't know, but basically that means that when you turn the steering wheel all the way to the left-hand lock, the wiring inside doesn't bind up, and then you can go all the way to right-hand lock again, it doesn't bind up. But if I then tried to coil that up myself, it wouldn't be perfect. So what I've had to do is I've took the clock spring off this car, off the donor. As you can hopefully see, it is clock springless. And I put it in there. Now, that's good, and I'm safe because I have the donor car. But if I didn't have a donor car, that would have been about £100 to fix. I'm lucky. So I may have told a little porcupine. I said that I was going to take the steering wheel out of this car, out of the donor, and put it in the restoration car, which technically is true, but it isn't just that simple. If you just let me unlock the car, you'll see, oh, why has it got the steering wheel scrunchie on it? I wonder why. Oh. That's why. I've had it professionally retrimmed by a guy in the Clio community called Snappy. He used to work for a professional steering wheel retrimming firm which went bust in 2009. And since then, he's been retrimming steering wheels professionally ever since. So let's take a look at what I've had done. Right, so first things first, let's have a look. So, got the Alcantara top band here, which matches the Alcantara on the door cards. I've also got a red racing inspired Porsche GT3 inspired kind of, I don't know, directional indicator. Moving down, I've got real leather, black leather coming all the way down with perforated leather thumb grips. Then I've got the red contrast stitching holding it all together. And then at the bottom again I've got the Alcantara with a stitched in RS 172, which is the model of the car, honestly RenauloltSport. I just completely missed, didn't I? RenauloltSport 172, which stands for 172 brake horsepower. So yeah, that's what I've had done to it. It looks so much better. That cost me £160, which has completely blown my budget. I think I had £170 left. Thought, well, there's nothing else to spend it on. Might as well treat myself to a beautiful snappy wheel. So that's what I've done. So I think the next thing that needs to be done is I need to clear out the back of the car, get all the parts from this car out. Probably just going to put them over there in my pile of Clio bits. Just clear out the back a bit, see what I'm working with, see what I need to get, see what's there, see what's missing, see if I can replace things off the donor car. Should take not too long. So I've got the boot cleared out as best as I can. Obviously there's still mess which needs vacuuming up, wiping off and stuff, but I've actually got it cleared out. There's nothing in there. Spare wheel, obviously the previous owner nicked that. These are the wheels that originally came on this car. There should have been a spare there, but the previous owner nicked it, sold it, just like he did with the CD changer. But I bought a new one of them in there, and I've not included that in the budget, as obviously the car was supposed to have it, but the previous owner lied and stole it and sold it. So yeah, but yeah, that is clear. I'll show you the stuff that I've removed. First thing I removed is the bad boy 6" by 4" back box for the exhaust. That is mental, and hooked up to the 2 litre sounds phenomenal. In fact, that matches the Miltech twin pipe of the donor car very nicely, but I prefer the oval because I'm cool and I like ovals. Second thing I removed was Intake gaskets. I believe that's the exhaust gasket. Got the rocker cover here, which I've removed. Obviously this sits on top of the engine. That's where you fill your oil up. So that's that. Then the upper intake manifold sits on top of that. Then I removed the coolant expansion tank. Last thing I removed was the cylinder head. Now that weighs a lot, and I'm not a strong guy. I don't claim to be a strong guy, but that weighs a lot. That's horrendous to remove. As you can see, there's still quite a lot of stuff to remove from the actual passenger compartment of the car. There's a few things on the passenger seat, like the engine cover, rear number plate, but I'll leave them. It's just these boxes in the back, which I need to sort through. But to be honest, the interior, it's not even mouldy. Like, I'm surprised at that. Like, I'm very happy. Just gonna get all this removed now. Now, the issue is I can't actually tilt this seat forwards. The cable inside has disconnected itself, as they do on these Mark II Clios. I sorted that one out over there, but I can't remove this seat, otherwise the airbag wiring may snap. I don't want to risk that. I want to wait until I've got a proper airbag rewiring kit handy. So I'm going to wait. But I'll be able to get this stuff out. That's what I was looking for. That's the mid-pipe of the stainless steel Micronex exhaust system with not much of a silencer. So you can imagine it comes from the exhaust manifold, down through the cat, which is a sports cat, comes through this straight 2.5 inch pipe, through that silencer, and then out this massive back box through that. Now this car did sound a lot different to this car. This has a completely standard mid-pipe, and it just has the Miltech back box. So all this is, it has the standard engine tone amplified out of the back box. Now this, obviously, it has 2.5 inch mandrel bent pipe, small silencer, big back box. This had a lot of a deeper tone, louder. Can't wait to hear it again. Now, with this being a 2-owner car, 2 including me and my stepdad, Mark Smith doesn't really count as he didn't do anything with it. It has a lot of the rare and discarded pieces that a lot of people get rid of, like this fuel rail guard. Look at the donor car. The pegs are there, doesn't have it. People remove it. Oh look, no engine cover. This car has the engine cover. So this has a lot of the rare pieces that people discard. And obviously with restoring the car, that's very good for me, as I have the hard to come by pieces. So I'm going to take that, clean that up. I've already got the upper intake off this car. I've ordered an RS lower intake manifold, which is very close to port matched, actually. That's the exhaust side. Oh, what an umpty. So I don't know if you can see those holes there. Those are the intake holes. Now those are A size. Now the lower intake on standard 172s has a very big step between the manifold and the ports. The RS one, however, doesn't. It has a smaller step, so the air flows more freely, more horsepower. So, gonna get them cleaned up, get this cleaned up. May spray paint them with high temperature engine paint with an aluminium finish, just so they look better. There's HT leads and coil packs. Now, the coil packs are very expensive, so I'm glad I've got them. Now, the good thing is, a lot of this stuff is brand new, as before the car blew up, it had all this stuff done. So the injectors from this car are brand new. HT leads, HT leads, coil packs, brand new. Not coil packs, sorry, I don't, oh, for God's sake, I've missaid what they are. I don't care. So those stuff can stay there. And these are upgraded ones as well, off a 182, not a 172, with a more intense spark. So let me keep finding stuff. This is like a treasure hunt. Tell you what, I'm glad I found that. That's the standard airbox. Now, come over to the donor car. It has a standard airbox, but it also has a little extra filter down there. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't like how that's being done, and I don't trust it. So I'm glad I found this, so I can use the original one back on the car, just because of swapping it over. It's not a big job, but I'm glad I found it. So all that's left in that box now, obviously I put the expansion tank in, but there's one of the head gasket pieces and just a few little engine brackets. So I think most of the engine is actually with the car. It's just that it's a bit dead. How cool is that? I found an old tax disc from 2006. That's actually really cool. Oh, I've got oil on my toolbox. Oh, But yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to keep that. Safe. Oh. Locking wheel nut key. Keep that safe. And there's other just little buttony up here, plasticky bits in here. Some of it didn't come with the car. Like that thing is one of them toys where it comes with like a red and green dotted pass, and you put the red over it and it produces the image. It's pretty cool. But that's not the point. Back of the car, it's completely clear. Right, I've cleaned everything out. Seats are clear, back's clear. It's a bit dirty, but can vac that out another time. Floor mat. Oh, floor mat. Another rare thing as well, that. Clio 172 floor mats. Not a lot of them come with them because people strip them out because they think they're ugly. But I've got some. So, get wrecked. So that's the back of the car, cleared. It's going to move on to the front of the car now. So I've got the engine cover here, and I'm just going to make an example of why I disapprove of people removing it. Like, look at how that looks now. Yeah, it looks nice. But, put the engine cover on. Look, it just makes it look more professional. High-end. I like how it looks. Obviously, that's not in properly, but you know, you can still see the RenaultSport logo. You can still see your pipe work. But I just think it looks a lot nicer. I don't know why people remove them, really. So for the most part, the car's clean. Obviously, it's muddy, but there's actually nothing in the car. It's all out here now, so I'm just going to box it up, make sure I know where everything is, and I'm going to call it a day, I think. This cleaning it out took a lot longer than I expected. I've been at it for about 2 hours now. I wasn't expecting it to take that long, but obviously looking through the parts that I've got, through the parts that I need to get. There's not much in the way that I need to get, because most of the parts that I'll need, this car had. That car's got the engine and everything, so that is what it's supposed to look like. You know, you've got spark plug, 4 valves. That is what it looks like with the valves removed, which I've removed. 3 valves, spark plug, again, 4 valves, spark plug. That, however, it's not quite how it's supposed to look. Now if you see, the valve stem is still there, whereas on there, the whole valve's removed. You can just see the valve guide and the valve seat. Score marks all the way around there, and you can see the spark plug is absolutely destroyed and non-existent. Now if we come over to the car, focus, come on, focus, there we go. You can kind of see piston 1, piston 2, and piston 4. So piston 3 had a failure. Now, I have a hypothesis, not going to point fingers, not going to name names, but I've got a hypothesis. Okay, so here's the hypothesis of what I think has happened to the Clio. So let's rewind 4 years back to 2014, when the car was sent in to have some work done. It had gone into a garage local to us, not going to name any names for legal reasons, obviously. Now, we sent the car to have 16 valves replaced, all 16 valves replaced, timing belt, dephaser pulley. Now they're common replacement, well, the dephaser and the timing belt need to be done. The valves were being done because they were 63,000 miles old and they were starting, the seals were starting to go, so it's best to replace seals and valves at the same time. So that's what it had gone for. Now, the garage we sent it to originally rung up my stepdad, the original owner, the first owner of the car, since it was brand new, and said, look, listen, we don't have the tools to time the engine correctly. Can we send it to so-and-so garage? And my stepdad said, yeah, that's fine. Send it there if they've got the tools. So it got sent there. The second garage supposedly had the timing tools needed to time the engine correctly. Now, for the 2 weeks after this, we kept seeing the car at different garages around the area. There was always playing hot potato with it. Now, we didn't see this as an issue. I mean, it was a bit annoying because there was no permission. Like, the garages didn't have permission to pass the car around, but, you know, that's life. Now, we get the car back after a couple of weeks, and all seems fine. It runs sweet as a nut. Perfect. Except, a couple of months later, coming back from Oldham on the motorway, my mum's driving, I'm at my nan's house, she's bringing my nan back from shopping in Oldham. Now, we get a phone call, car's broken. There was a lot of noise, the car's broken.
So we go, pick them up, and a tow truck comes. Now, gets towed back to our house, and that's that. Car won't start, so we start taking all our belongings out of it, all that stuff, to send it up to the garage. Now, the garage then says, oh, we don't know what's wrong with it, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. We'll leave it there a few more days, and they have a look at it. Right, it's going to cost £2 grand to fix. Didn't tell us what was wrong with it, but it's going to cost £2 grand to fix. And my stepdad had a think. It's like, no, we're not spending £2 grand on it. We've already just spent 600 and 800 quid on it for the head rebuild. Like, just sell it. So we sold it to a guy at the garage that I hadn't been to up in the other village for 150 quid. The car's worth £2 grand at this point, but it sold it for 150 quid just to get it off the driveway. Now, the car then sits at the garage for a few months, and then one of the employees at the garage buys the car and never see it until 2016, when I get my first car, my little 1.2 Clio. Now, I thought, oh, I'm gonna buoy this up a bit, you know. So I thought, oh, I wonder if my stepdad's Clio Sport is still at the guy at the garage. So we ask. Lo and behold, it is. So I buy it, 150 quid, cha-ching, it's my car. And then I research. I mean, I knew it was a Clio Sport, but I didn't know the nitty-gritty of it. So I did some research, and it turns out the car is phenomenally rare. There's only 480 of them in the world. Now, I mean, yeah, there's thousands and thousands of Clios, but there's not a lot of flame red Clio 172s. There's 480 of them. So I thought, right, I can't pull it in bits, because that's treacherous. I can't do that. So then I was like, right, what do I do with it? And it just sits doing nothing. And then we pull it apart for a bit, you know, after a bit we'll pull it apart, see what's wrong with it. And it turns out that it had 2 valves replaced, not 16, 2. Dephaser and belt had been done, but also the cams, they weren't timed properly. So we think what happened is they hadn't timed the car properly with the tools. That's caused the first start to the pistons just clip the valves and bend them out of the way, and just every so often it just clipped the valve, and one of the heads of the valves had just fallen off, and that seized the engine up and killed it. And obviously with no receipt, no nothing we could do about it. So now, I suppose, it's my job to fix it, isn't it? So, without further ado, let's get some engines pulled. This is probably the last time it's ever going to run. Obviously I'm nicking its engine, so here it is. I've just got it pulled out of the lockup just to admire it one last time before she gives up the goods and donates that big lumpy 2 litre into the other car. So let's get her back into the garage, and I've got easier access to get to the engine. Right, so now that I've taken the near side front wheel off, what I'm going to do for extra safety is put the wheel underneath the car. Now obviously these are 4-ton axle stands, so that one can carry 2 tons on its own, one inside can carry 2 tons on its own, and this car weighs under a ton. So obviously I'm not even loading them up at all, but just for peace of mind and obviously to be as safe as I possibly can, I'm going to put the wheel underneath, so that if the car does fall, it's only going to land on that and not me, which is always a bonus. So here's a look at the suspension of the car.
So obviously you've got your shock absorber, your coil spring, caliper, disc. Back there's your knuckle or hub. Obviously you've got all the steering components back there. Now the first thing you need to remove next is the caliper. So I'm going to remove the caliper and the disc. That'll reveal the hub. Then I'm going to remove the hub, remove the coil spring, etc, etc, etc. Right, so I've took the steering lock off. So in theory, I should be able to pull on the caliper and just slowly ease the wheel this way as if I'm turning. Obviously it's got power assist steering, so it's going to be tough to do by hand. But just ease it over like that, and that's at full lock now. So now I have better access to the bolts to remove the caliper. As we can see, it's connected to the car, to the hub, with this 18mm and this 18mm up here. So I'm going to crack them loose. Now obviously I need to be very careful of this CV axle boot, because if this rips, this would be a costly replacement for the whole shaft that goes into the gearbox. So I'm going to have to be very careful not to hit it with my wrench, because it could split it. I've had to bring out the big boy breaker bar because those are on tight. I mean, go figure, it's a pretty integral part of the car, so you don't want that falling off. So I've got the big breaker bar out, this should get it off. They're on incredibly tight. That's crazy. I probably could use a buzz gun right now, but in my toolbox I don't have a buzz gun, so I'm just having to do things manually, but oh well. So now the caliper should just, you know, come off nicely. There we go. That's the caliper removed. Now I need to suspend this without it being held by its feed cable. There. If I suspend it by that, that's going to stretch and it could snap. So I need to suspend this up somewhere to stop that from occurring. So I just removed the first 21mm nut and bolt from this top shock mount. It goes in this way with the nut towards the back of the car. Now obviously if you put it this way, it doesn't particularly matter, but it might be more difficult to get it off in the future. So I always put it the way that you took it off. So because you took the nut off the back here, this is still in place and there's nowhere to get that out because the actual through there is not threaded. So you have to get your good old hammer boy out and just knock it through. With both of those removed, you can see there's a lot more movement in this hub. I can drag it out. Now, what I need to do, come up top, I need to remove this top nut, which is also a 21mm. So, I've got track rod ends removed, managed to get these upper strut mounts removed, started to remove all the engine harness. Need to get this upper engine mount off before I can feed it through, which is why I've got the engine crane to put tension on this so it doesn't just fall through the car. Gearbox mount, and then move on to the other side of the suspension, which is almost there, and run for a winner. In the bucket. I know. Oh well. Oh well. It'll sweep out through though. So we've got both sides of the suspension completely removed. They're just the drive shafts left. But we're going to have to drain the gearbox before we can remove those, otherwise the oil's going to go everywhere. We've got all the wiring removed, and that's just being relocated over here. And then this car already has all of its wiring completely and utterly destroyed and removed, so that's one less job for me. What we got done after the last clip, we've removed all the wiring, removed all the fuse box and everything, and that's then being put with the car, or with the engine even. The ECU unit with the car wiring comes with the car. So everything that could be transferred over with the car is being transferred over with the car, which makes it a lot easier just to transplant the engines and plug them in again, because obviously with this car having a previous owner before me who tried to do what I'm doing, tried to put it back together, these little electrical plugs might be broken, cut off, snapped. So it's better to come from a car that has a harness, which I know works perfectly, and I can be properly sure that everything's just going to plug in and work, rather than have to chase down electrical faults. So I think next thing that's on, we need to check everything is removed that's attaching this engine to the body of the car. Remove that engine mount up there, attach this hook to that chain, and then wrap the chain through that hook, and there's going to be another hook put there, and then engine lifts up, and we'll just stick it somewhere. We'll push this car out, bring this one over, and that'll be that. We'll get the swap going. So the next stage is I'm removing this bonnet catch mechanism from this car and replacing it with the one off the Dorna car. As you can see, this one is clean, nice. This one is a bit dirty and a bit rusty, and it also doesn't work very well. When you put, I've obviously loosened it now so it won't work. When you pull on that, it just sticks, whereas that one's really nice and glides freely. So I'm just going to swap those over. So I've now cleaned up the whole area of all that black gooey stuff. That's all completely gone now. So now I just need to install this new push pin and then the clean bonnet release. So a quick demonstration. This is what it should be like. You pull on it, let go, and it springs back by itself. Now, on the one that was on this car, I vaulted back to this bonnet, and now you pull it, and it just kind of stays there. So, yeah, that's not brilliant, is it? So, it's replaced now. So, I'm going to shut the bonnet, make sure everything lines up, and make sure that catch actually works. Everything's completely removed, so it's time to pull this thing out. Right, there it is. 2 litre engine there. Aux belts off, obviously you just saw we had to take the aircon pump off, but everything, whole 2 litres here, and nothing in there, which is good for the project. We've got one car completely stripped out, and I'm going to stand in there. I am the engine. You will bow down to me. Cool.
Lowering springs aren't really working anymore up front.
No, they're not. So, donor car's out the way. Donor engine is built up and on that platform, ready to be inserted. Now, this car needs to be brought from there to here so that it's right with the door, so we can get the engine crane in easily, and now we can commence work on that thing. So the project is definitely underway now. This is as far as I've got, and I'm on time, I'm on track, so it's going better than I could have ever planned for. So now the restoration car is in the middle of the garage, and it's mostly stripped down. There's just the gear linkage, twisted dog bone mount, and that's it. All apart from a triangular frame holding the box to the subframe, but that's it. Then this engine can be removed and put over there or over there, and then that good engine can be brought and sat in and all hooked up, and that'll be that. So
Don't want a car, obviously, that's just gonna sit for months, years, decades, I don't know what to do with it. But this is gonna be ready within a few days. Okay, so 2 litre, or should I say the direct 2 litre out of this car is now completely removed. Nothing left in there, so now it's going to be hang the exhaust, bring that over, set it in, wire it up, and then we'll go from there. On the car's now doing some cool stunts, set up on some steel wheels and chunks of wood. That was so I could get underneath and cut the exhaust off as the bolts were rounded and seized and rusty. So the exhaust is off now, and the car's just sat doing some cool, I don't know, stunts. That's all that can explain that, really. Just cool stunts. Done a bit of research, which has probably just saved the entire project from going down the drain. I learned that the ECU unit off this car has to stay with this car no matter what happens, because in the coding inside the chip, it's coded to the UCH and other ECUs within the car. So, for example, if I was to use the ECU off of that engine with this car, the car would be immobilised and I wouldn't be able to drive it until I paid a ridiculous amount of money for a Renault technician to come out and unlock the ECU for me. So, this engine came out of this car, therefore that ECU has to go over onto that engine to go back in this car. So I'm going to do that now, and that's just saved my project. Flathead screwdriver or other prying implement, you have to pry this little tab in here out to allow the pin out to come off the ECU unit. So just pry it open like this. Make sure you get it all the way out. Pried that all the way out, the pin out should just lift off the ECU. And there you go, the ECU has just dropped onto the floor. Now, swap that over now. So the ECU unit is now swapped over, with the bonus of the ECU housing off this car was unbroken, so it still has the little factory clips all over it, whereas if we go over here, the little bracket off the other car has some strange mounting point there, and it's all snapped off and there's nothing there. So yeah, that broken piece can go with that broken engine, and then that nice piece on that unbroken engine. I've also, you might have seen from clips like previously in the in this film, I've fixed the headlight washer jets. I've actually got little nozzles in there now. They got stolen many years ago, before even I had the car. So they're fixed. So the project is looking like it's going to be done. All you have to do, engine over on the crane, sit it in, bolt it down, plug it in, hope it starts up.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are bound. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter.
Right, so the engine is in the car. Most of the wiring that goes to the engine itself is on, but the fuse panel, relay panel, ECU, that's just thrown in. Some of the plumbing's done. The throttle body has found its way down there. It's supposed to be there. There's this to sort out, which is power steering and alternator stuff, which the alternator and power steering pumps are both down there. Shut up, train. So yeah, it's going to be done soon. Okay, so I'm about half an hour into wiring up this fuse block now. It's a bit, it's not hard, it's easy to know where the wires go, because I've got a few images there printed off. But the problem is the wires, they get in the way of you actually plugging things in down there. So it's just one of those things that you have to be really careful, and you have to be really, I don't know, you have to have really bendy fingers, if that makes sense, to make everything fit. But I'm getting there. Alright, so I've just put the alternator on and the air conditioning pump on. Now, run into a small issue with the
parameters of basically how tight the frame rail is to the alternator, and getting the auxiliary belt over all the pulleys and under all the pulleys, all down there that it needs to be on, is becoming really difficult at this end stage, which is getting it over the alternator pulley. Now, because I've got thin bendy fingers, I'll be all right, but basically what I have to do is, if you come under the car, the belt goes from the crank pulley, and then it comes up to the aircon pump, whilst going over that idler, and then it comes, that's the aircon pump, and it comes up, then it also comes over the alternator, then it goes down, and it goes underneath this tensioner, and then between the tensioner and it then comes over the power steering pump, and then back down. So it's a big trace, and you pull it up here, but then it'll pop off down there, and you push it on down there, and it'll pop off up here. So it's a fiddly game, but once it's on, it's on. So I've got the belt over the alternator, but now it's come off the tensioner, and if I try and push it over the tensioner, it's going to pop off somewhere else, and I can almost guarantee that. Upper mount is on, gearbox mount is on and tight, ECU is down tight, airbox bracket is on, everything's screwed there nice and tight. The main coolant hose is screwed to the subframe nice and tightly. Everything is pretty much done apart from that blooming belt. Right, the engine's in, the belts are on, airbox on, battery on, radiator in, plumbed up, slam panel on, headlight in. Everything mechanically, electronically should work. Now I'm saving the first start until I'm ready to pull it out of that door, because I don't want to ruin the surprise whether it works or doesn't work. So I'm going to put all the front end back together, other headlight and the front bumper, bolt it down nice and snug, see if we can get it out of here.
To some, they're just a couple of tons of metal, glass and gears. To those same people, they're just an appliance to get them from home to the shops and back again. But to me, there's so much more than that. And there's one that I'd like to meet. So, as you can see and hear, the car fired up. And that's pretty much what the project was all about. Can I restore this car? Can I make it run and drive? And as you can see, it runs and it definitely drives under its own power. Now, there's still a few little things that need putting up, like it needs a wash and, you know, a little bit of TLC rust-wise, but she's done. She's over. The project's finished. It's been a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of dirty work, but she's done. Worth it. Thank you for joining me on this journey.
Voices getting nearer, heart is pumping, thoughts are running wild. We got a good thing going, why we gotta feel amplified. Stay into the morning, countless hours spending by your side. You look at me, I'm soaring, seeing all the truth behind your eyes. See you, for a moment even hope that I can feel you. Wants to tell you that I need you. See you, for a moment even hope that I can feel you. See you, all that I wanted was to tell you that I need you. Now I'm finally right here with you. getting nearer. Heart is pumping, thoughts are running wild.